anyway, we're so glad for all of the interest in our topic this evening. As far as chapter events go, this is the one that has driven the most interest of anything. So clearly, a lot of people very excited about the future of the Rapid system in Cleveland and some of the new possibilities that are opening up with these new rail cars that we're going to be starting to receive next year and starting to deploy the year after that. I don't know how many of you kind of closely follow some of the postings, but I saw here in the last few weeks, RTA posted some pictures. They got, the first rail vehicles are being built out at that plant, that Siemens plant in Sacramento. So we're excited to see those making their way to Cleveland over the next, 18 to 24 months. We want to make sure that we're respectful of everyone's time, and I know a lot of you have been waiting and are excited to see this. And so we'll go ahead and get started here. As I have gotten into transportation and transportation advocacy, one of the places that I learned a lot and I met a lot of the people that I've gotten a chance to meet and learn about these things is a site called Urban Ohio. And hopefully, if you're interested in urbanism or transportation planning or things like that in the state of Ohio, take a chance to go and look that up. And so just to make sure that I'm introducing myself, I am Brian Schreiber. I am the chapter director for the Northeast chapter of All Aboard Ohio. No, if you want to go ahead and flip to the next slide there, All Aboard Ohio is a nonprofit member-based organization. We're dedicated to promoting improved public transportation and passenger rail service throughout the state. And we know this evening we have a lot of people that this might be your first interaction with All Aboard Ohio, and we hope that you'll take a few minutes to go onto the All Aboard Ohio webpage and sign up for our free basic membership, and give you a chance to learn more about the advocacy that we do throughout the state and many things that we do. So I was talking a little bit about Urban Ohio because that kind of gets us into where we're going tonight. Before I get into that briefly, though, I do want to tell you about some of the upcoming events that All Aboard Ohio has. So everything that we do is posted on All Aboard Ohio's webpage. There is an events section on that webpage. This Saturday at the statewide Zoom meeting, we will be discussing the Ohio Rail Development Plan here that was released just in the last few weeks. So that'll be a great topic. A lot of interest in that. We've got a bunch of people registered. So if you're interested, go ahead and register. Lisa has put the links into the chat. Now there is an event coming up the following Saturday. We're not affiliated with it, but there is a rally for Amtrak happening all across the country, and there is a group locally that's organizing that rally at noon on September 20th, the rally for Amtrak in Willard Park there, right there on East 9th and Lakeside. So if that's something that sounds interesting, I do plan to attend. Again, that's not an official AAO event, but that is something that a lot of our members would be interested in. And then here locally, we're really excited. We're going to be having a field trip. CVSR, the Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad, has graciously extended us an opportunity to get discounted tickets on a fall ride, which is such a wonderful time to ride that train. So that's going to be on Saturday, October 11th. We hope you'll be able to join us. Again, that information is all up on AAO's webpage. Great opportunity to see that service. And then just to kind of round out our year, as far as Northeast chapter events, we will be doing a happy hour in early November, downtown Cleveland. So there's a link to register both there in the chat. So I was talking a little bit about Urban Ohio and the Urban Ohio Forum, and we have lively discussions on that forum about different transportation options, and so there are always things being presented and promoted for the various transit systems around the state. But there was one that was posted earlier this year that really caught my eye as far as its depth, attention to detail, and potential for becoming reality, right? A lot of the times the things that we talk about would take massive infrastructure investments or things like this. And as much as we all want to see them happen, we also understand that we got to go find that money for somewhere. But what we're talking about this evening There's a lot of money being spent, but that money is going to be spent either way. We're getting new rail cars for the Cleveland Rapid system, and it opens up the possibility for new routes. And so Noah, who is joining us as a guest presenter this evening, did a really wonderful detailed plan and proposal about how we could most take advantage of those new rail cars and introduce a lot of new routes and a lot of new single subsystems. So Noah and I have been working together to kind of pull this presentation. I really appreciate all the work that he's done, and I'm going to hand it over to Noah to present his concept for rebooting the Rapid here in Cleveland. So Noah, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Yeah, thank you for the very generous introduction there, Brian. Thank you for everyone for tuning in tonight and for all aboard Ohio for having me at their chapter meeting to share this concept with you. I'd also just want to quickly thank Ian, Lisa, Ryan, Rob for help on the input on this presentation, and Ian and Ryan for these great introductory graphics here. The beautiful looking our new rail car right there. Just very briefly, a little bit about myself. I'm Noah Belli. I currently am not working in the field, but I have a degree in geography from Ohio State where I studied regional planning. But more importantly, though, I've spent most of my life on the Rapid, riding the Rapid. Um, and my long time home station for most of my childhood was East 120th, and my graphic right here is the new Mayfield Little Italy station. So I'm always been on the Rapid for most of my life. So this is very near and dear to my heart. This project. I'm just going to quickly turn off my webcam so I can conserve uh,
His bandwidth.
conserve
And the other
bandwidth.
thing,
There we
as
go.
Noah gets into and gets started, we're going to have time for questions at the end. If you have
Yes.
questions as we go through, please put them into the chat. I will be watching and do my best to answer. Rob will be watching. Other than that, either into the chat or hold the live questions for the end, and then I'll interject if there's any that make sense to talk about during it. So go ahead, Noah, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. So, just to start, here's the existing RTA network that we all know today, the red, blue, and green lines. Uh, you know, uh, the rail network is served by these two type of rail cars: this heavy rail vehicle on the red line and this light rail vehicle on the blue and green line. These rail cars they entered service in the early 80s, and so it's been 40 years. They're in urgent need of replacement. Thankfully, though, we have the rail car replacement program that is to replace both of these rail cars with a single unified fleet. And over the past 5 years, RTA has been working towards that goal to secure funding, and so far 93% of all funding for this very significant undertaking is either awarded or committed. That remaining 7% they do have identified sources from from ODOT and various other sources. So this is a significant accomplishment by the staff at RTA. To this is a heavy lift. This is going to be one of the most one of the largest public transit infrastructure investments in Ohio's history. It's very significant. These funds are to buy a replacement light rail vehicle. This is the Siemens S200, that rail car. There's a lot of notable benefits over the existing fleet, and a lot of that can just be attributed to the technological and design advancements that have come in transit over the past 40 years. The world's changed a lot since the early 80s. Here are some renderings of the interior of the vehicle if no one's seen them before. These are again a lot of improvements over the existing fleet. They're going to be quieter. They're going to be easier to clean. That cab there in the top left, it's much more ergonomic. It's centered, so it'll be easier for the operator. There's going to be expanded CCTV coverage. There's interior bike racks. There's 4 doorway adjacent wheelchair areas there. You can see in the bottom right, 52 seats, standing room only. So again, a significant improvement over what we currently have in a lot of ways. But it has a lot of these desirable features, but its most important attribute and what is this discussion is centering around in many ways is its doors. It has both high platform and low platform boarding doors. Having both high and low platform doors on a single rail car is what can significantly open up routing options on the existing system. The rail car replacement program, the S200, allows us to see the system as not 3 separate lines as they've been for 70 some years, but as 49 stations, 31 miles, a very significant size system as one, as a blank slate on which we can create potentially new service patterns. To start, there are 5 terminal stations, or those terminal stations are at the end of the line. That's the airport, Muni Lot, Stokes in East Cleveland, Green Road in Warrensville, Van Aken, and Shaker Heights. There are 10 possible ways to connect these 5 endpoints, and these 10 potential links are what make up the building blocks of route networks on this, soon to be unified light rail system. Lines 1, 2, and 3, those are the existing lines that we all know that have been operating in some form of this operational pattern since their inception, since they were built, since the red line went cross town and the blue and green lines going between downtown and those terminal stations. We also have these 3 new direct service lines, line 4, 5, and 6, that can connect Shaker to the west and the east side to the waterfront. We also have these lines 7, 8, and 9 that require some form of reverse operations. There's no direct link between them right now, so they would require these types of reverse operations that are very complex and best avoided. It would require the operator to leave the cab, walk the full length of the train, and enter a separate cab and then pull out of the station. So, these are possible. These are interesting ideas, but best to be avoided for running a complex rapid transit system. So, taking together these 9 routes, we can build a new network. So, think of it as a blank slate. Think of we have these new 9 routes. How can we combine them into one single unified rail network? You need a minimum of 3 to service all of the stations, all 49 stations. And, more than 5 would likely be too complex for a system, especially one of Cleveland size. And you want to avoid an unbalanced system whenever possible. So you want to provide a similar level of service to each branch on the system. Within these parameters, the proposal being shared today is comprised of the lines 1 and 2, that is the existing red and green lines, line 4, which is a rerouted blue line Van Aken line to the airport, and line 6, an entirely new 4th rapid line. So here you can see all 4 of those lines combined together on a single diagram, that is lines 1, 2, 4, and 6. And you can see how these networks, how this network is, balanced and mirrors our similar service patterns we have today while providing these new direct connections. These new direct service connections are really, the most exciting part of this new route proposal. The most notable service improvements are, again, getting from the east side directly in one rail car to the waterfront, getting from the blue line Van Aken Shaker Square directly to the west side, directly to the airport for the first time. This is a significant, a change for majority of stations on the network. Some 70% of all stations will now have a new service pattern, a new list of stations they can now directly access if this 4-line option is pursued. But these transit diagrams, they look great, but they can distort the spatial relationship between the actual features. So here's just a geographic look at what the lines look like today, what these new 4 lines would look like overlaid on Cleveland, on greater Cleveland. And here's some of the travel times to get an idea for how the lengths of these lines are different from what we currently have. So that orange line from the east side to the waterfront, that's only 30 minutes long. But that blue line that's now rerouted to the airport's pretty far on the west side. It's on the far corner of the city. That's now 10 minutes longer than the red line. That's almost a full hour end to end. But most people don't take the rapid, don't take any transit line end to end. They're somewhere in the middle. So we can look at a couple different travel scenarios, like lakefront to Little Italy. So, just for example, think of a visitor that just went to the Rock Hall and wants to head to Little Italy for dinner, or maybe see another museum in University Circle. Right now, this trip requires a transfer at Tower City, or possibly East 34th or East 55th, but most of the time it's at Tower City. And that transfer, right now as it's scheduled, would require a 10-minute wait. What a direct line can provide is a 24-minute direct service pattern from the lakefront directly to University Circle. That's connecting these 2 major museum attraction districts in Cleveland on one service line. That's pretty significant. But the most significant is going to be connecting the west side directly to Shaker, directly to Van Aken Boulevard and the Blue Line. Right now, if you're at Shaker Square and you want to catch a flight to the airport, that's a 52-minute long trip across the town, and that requires a 10-minute transfer at Tower City. If you live around Lee Van Aken Station in Shaker and you work at Lutheran Hospital on West 25th, you have to transfer, if you want to take the rapid there at Tower City. Both those transfers, they add about 10 minutes. So that new direct service line, again, this is with no new added infrastructure. This is just with rerouting these new rail cars we will have in the coming years. You can get that down to, under 30 minutes from Lee Van Aken to Ohio City. That's a significant upgrade over what we currently have. But why not today? These are really interesting proposals, but why can't this be implemented now? Well, the primary reason is station platform height. The S200's dual low and high platform doors are important because it can address this issue that's relatively unique to the Cleveland system. So the Cleveland system, it has both high platform and low platform stations. If we take a quick look back to our existing rail fleet, you can see we have both heavy rail and light rail vehicles. The differences between heavy rail and light rail can be rather minimal from a rider's perspective. There are distinctions between them, but they're can be often on the more technical side, and especially a system like Cleveland's Red Line, it's very murky. What it really is. It is a heavy rail line. That is a heavy rail car, but moving forward, we're going to be using a completely light rail network. But as it relates to Cleveland, as it relates to the implementations in Cleveland, the heavy rail is high platform, and the blue and green lines, the light rail, is low platform. So that is again, our high platform vehicles serve our high platform stations on the red line, and our low platform vehicles serve our low platform stations on the blue and green lines. So think of how you use these lines today. On the red line, the rail car is completely level with the platform, so it's step-free access right on. But on the green and blue lines, at any station on their routes, you have to walk up a set of stairs to get onto the rail car. Think of like a streetcar. You have to walk up these stairs to get to your seat, to the standing room only area. I'm reiterating this point a lot because it may seem like a minor distinction, but it plays a really significant role in what vehicles can operate on the rail system. So, to unify the fleet, we need this S200 rail car that can serve both high and low floor platforms. The use of both high and low platforms on a rail system with one rail car is uncommon. Most systems are either entirely high floor, like in St. Louis, or entirely low floor, like in Seattle or San Diego. But multiple systems operate with dual platform heights. Buffalo, our peer cities of Buffalo and Pittsburgh, both have rail cars that use both high and low platform heights. This isn't a peer city to us, but it uses our rail car. San Francisco has been using the S200 for this exact purpose since about 2015, and it's been working rather well on that system. So again, this is uncommon, but it's something the S200 can do, and it's something our peer cities have been doing since the early 1980s. Cleveland's version of the S200 will, however, be a little unique over any other. And just to get a better look at the rail car at its two door types, we can look at the side and top down profile of the S200 in its Cleveland configuration. Here you can see we have 4 center high platform doors, 2 per side. These doors are always going to be at the high platforms. And on either end of the vehicles, there are 4 low platform doors, again, 2 per side. Those low platform doors are going to be similar to the current blue and green lights today, where you have to walk up those set of stairs. But these low platform doors will also be equipped with this type of removable stair cover that can cover them and convert them into high platform boarding doors. So without those covers, this would be the traditional points of egress onto it for the train's 8 doors. However, if it's traveling, in one direction, what a rail operator can do is put these stair covers over 2 of the low platform boarding doors and turn it into a 4 high platform boarding doors on one side of the vehicle and keep those 2 on the other side as low. This is pretty significant for the Cleveland system, especially when you have a full understanding of what our stations, how they're laid out right now. So we have 49 rail stations on the full network, and each station on this network can either be on the center or on the side of the rails. It can either be high platform or low platform. Right now, nearly all of our low platforms are on the side. That one caveat is Warrensville Van Aken at the end of the blue line, and all of our high platforms are in the center of the rail, between the 2 rail lines. So anytime you're getting on a red line train, you're in between the rails. Anytime you're getting on a blue and green line train, a light rail, low platform, you're getting on the side. Here's just a map looking at our 2 primary types of stations. This clean distinction between this high center and low side platform means that station platform heights remain consistent in the rail car for the entire run of its line between endpoints, with the exception being Warrensville Van Aken, but that's a terminal station, so it's not very important for full line operations. This allows the use of stair covers on one side of the vehicle for the entire length of the line's route between terminal stations. So, for example, an eastbound rail car can have their stair covers in place on the 2 left low platform doors to create 4 high platform boarding doors at all high platform stations it travels through. And then once that reaches the end of the line, as the operator leaves the cab, for example, they arrived at Stokes in East Cleveland, they leave the cab and they could flip those stair covers from one side to the other. So now it's ready for westbound service, and you have retained those 4 high platform boarding doors at all high platform stations. That's significant because most of the highest ridership stations on the network are these high platform red line stations, and those are where we have big crowd events. If there's a playoff game downtown, now we have 4-door boarding instead of the 3 we currently have on the red line to get people as comfortably and quickly onto the rail cars as we can, during those big events. And just a small note on the mini high accessible platforms. This is how we make low platform stations ADA compliant, ADA accessible. These will be able to reach one of the permanently fixed high platform doors on the rail car on that side, on the low side, as the train's traversing the system. So 7 of the 8 doors on one length of the system as the rail car goes across town, 7 of the 8 doors will be used. And just a final note on stations, there's one final type I didn't fully explain in the discussion above, and that's where you interchange between our current 2 lines. These are the transfer stations. You have East 55th, East 34th, and of course Tower City. These stations have both high, center, and center low platforms. Moving forward to a single fleet, though, this will allow RTA to close off these low center platforms and move completely to high platforms at these 3 transfer stations. That's particularly important for Tower City, where this is just a very rough track diagram. It's a little complex to get your head around, but this is, because it's an underground station. But this is just think of a bird's eye view of the layout of the station, where you have these high platforms on one side and these low platforms on the other, with your station entrance in the center. So right now, if someone wanted to transfer from the red to the blue and the green lines, here's just a very crude animation here. They would arrive at a high level platform, disembark the red line, go through a set of fare gates, walk across the station entrance, go through a second set of fare gates, go to the low platforms, wait for a blue line train, walk up the steps onto a blue line train, board the blue line train, and then leave. This is a very complex maneuver, more complex than it needs to be, and will be significantly simplified through this move to the S200 rail car. Because now people can transfer from the high to the high platform, so they can just get off that red line train if they keep the current configuration. They can just wait on the platform without having to go through 2 sets of fare gates and having to walk across a relatively large station and be able to board that next train that's headed in the appropriate direction for them. So a significant upgrade in just terms of user experience. Now, getting an understanding of how these new trains can operate on the network, we can return to the proposed route structure, and we can get a little bit more into scheduling and more specifically frequency. So here's this 4 route structure. These 4 lines are proposed to run at a frequency of 20 minutes per line. The actual usability and attractiveness of the transit system, it's not necessarily on these new direct routes. It's on how frequently do the trains run on the lines that you're going to use every day. So high frequency, a usable service is going to be important to making the rapid, as we know today, more useful to people that might not currently use it. Here we can just look at what a potential 4 lines at 20-minute proposal, how that could potentially look at the station level. So here's just an example for Tower City, using a theoretical departure board over just a 20-minute window, looking at these 4 lines. These 4 lines, each running at 20-minute frequencies, could be overlaid and evenly spaced in such a way where there's a train departing in each direction from Tower City every 5 minutes, alternating between their destinations, meaning a train will leave for your desired terminal station every 10 minutes. If you're going to one of the particular, shaker branch lines, the green or the blue line, that's every 20 minutes. That's an improvement over the every 30 minutes that it has today. To expand on this, here's a timetable for the 4 proposed lines. This is their eastbound service, just over an hour period. And here you can see just by focusing on Tower City, we have these very focused, these 12 departures per hour for each line where, I know I take the blue line every day, so I can see that 5 minutes, 25 minutes, and 45 minutes past the hour, there's always going to be a blue line departing from Tower City, similar to how it is today, but just at that higher frequency. Here it is for westbound. But again, this is just a lot to look at. Don't get too lost in all these numbers and station names. We can use these two timetables for east and westbound service, pool them together, and create a timetable, a departure board for any station on the network. So here's just Cedar University. You have it served by the red and orange lines every 5 and 15 minutes throughout the day towards Tower City, and every 10 minutes back towards East Cleveland. Here's same look at Shaker Square. And here's a look at Brook Park. It's at the end of the line, so every 10 minutes it has that train headed to the airport. But in 2 minutes, this example would be 18 minutes past the hour. In 2 minutes, there's a Blue Line train arriving headed to Van Aken. So in 2 minutes, I can get on a Blue Line train at Brook Park on the west side, go all the way to Shaker Square. 15 minutes after that Blue Line train, there's a Red Line train that follows its traditional route it always has, and it'll take me to the east side to University Circle and eventually to East Cleveland, and it would repeat in that pattern throughout the day. To get another look at what the service proposal would enable and how we can compare that and compare that to what we have today and what we were proposing, we can look at trains per hour per direction. So right now we have these three lines at either 15 or 30-minute frequencies. So the bulk of the system has 4 trains per hour. Those shaker branches have 2 or has. What we are proposing is a 50% service increase of 4 lines at 20-minute frequencies. So the bulk of the network gets 6 trains per hour every 10 minutes, 6 trains per hour per direction. The branches get 3, the core gets 12. A different way to look at this increase is to look at the total number of train sets and thus operators use it on the network. So to start, here is just what is required for service today. Just a quick note, that full round trip time, that includes the full round trip from one end of the line back to its origin station, along with those layover times. So that's rather long. Only the operators are going to be experiencing that. But if you divide that figure by its frequency, you can get the total number of train sets used. So the shaker branches have 3 each. The red line has 8. This 50% service increase will need 22 train sets to meet this frequency. I don't want to underplay how significant this 50% increase is. This is the most significant request for this proposal. RTA's ability to fund this 50% service increase, these 8 additional operators for all-day service, is the greatest impediment to implementing this new routing pattern with these 4 lines at 20 minutes. Operators are always going to be the most expensive part of operating any transit system, in any developed Western society, especially in the United States. So operator hours are expensive, significant expense. But aside from this proposed increase in operating cost, really all enabling infrastructure for reaching 4 lines at 20 minutes is already in place. RTA is ordering 60 rail vehicles, so they would have more than enough to meet that 22 train sets, especially if some of those are even doubled. There'll be more than enough train sets. All the enabling infrastructure is already being pursued, being invested. There's a lot of benefits to the unified fleet, but the most notable one for this discussion tonight is the unified fleet will notably reduce the total rail system operating costs by unifying to a single rail car. So instead of splitting your workforce between 2 very complex rail cars that are very old, we now have this single new rail car that is very common. It's maybe one day it'll be used in Pittsburgh, but right now it's used in Calgary, St. Louis, San Francisco, so we can acquire these parts more easily. One RTA estimate put the estimated cost savings at close to $7 million. So ideally, that $7 million figure in just maintenance cost savings could be reinvested into the rail network, could ideally go towards that proposed service expansion, could ideally increase those operator hours. And if that investment is able to be made from the rail system back into itself, this would allow RTA to increase service on the Rapid without harming its other services it offers, without harming paratransit, without harming bus service, without harming the health line. So this is very important. We don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul. We want the rail system to stand on its own and to not improve it at the expense of its bus system. But RTA has been making improvements to the bus system when and where possible. This is just a very quick example I wanted to share because I thought it was a good example of this process of, your increased frequency. One of the best impacts, one of the most, important impacts you get out of increase in frequency is you often get a pretty strong increase in ridership along with it. So this is just a bus line on the east side, the number 50 down East 116th Street. For a while, it ran at 60-minute frequencies. That is a bus an hour. But RTA was able to increase that to 30 minutes frequency, so that's 2 buses an hour. And that increase from 60 minutes to 30 minutes increased ridership by 72%. Now, this is just over a 4-month period, but so it's not as high as it could be, but over a relatively short period of time, that's significant. And I have this other bus line listed here, the number 48. It interlines briefly with the 50, and it saw the 16% increase in ridership without having any effect to its frequency. So other parts of the system can expand their ridership just by being near other parts of the system. That there's a lot of knock-on effects of increasing frequency. It increases ridership. We're trying to kind of build a virtuous cycle here of ridership on the system in a way. To switch gears a little, let's just take a closer look at the user experience on the Rapid. These changes are going to be relatively significant, especially to existing Rapid riders. So communicating aspects of the new Rapid system through these improved, system legibility, initiatives will allow riders to kind of learn this new system, will allow them to make decisions that is best for them. Because what the system does is it gives people a lot of more freedom than they currently have. They can make the decision that is best for them. A lot of these improvements are already committed to as well. And one of those is just onboard information displays. These Televec communication system onboard displays are going to be coming with 200. So they can show what line you're on, what the next station is, what direction you're headed, what transfers are possible at that next station. So, maybe if you're not used to seeing a Blue Line train at your West Park station on the west side, you could board it. I would say, oh, this is a Blue Line train. It's still going to Tower City. I'm fine. Oh, but it goes at these stops after it. Just helping people understand that this is a new system. The rail car will also have a new PA system, so we can have these new pre-recorded audio cues. Very simple. This is an airport-bound Blue Line train. The next stop is Buckeye Woodhill. Just these very simple cues to help communicate to people that the system is new now. It's a little different than you're used to, but these new systems can really help get that across. An important aspect to improve the system legibility will just be properly conveying the differences between our two primary station types. So this initiative is not going to be substantially changing the lower high platforms. They will still remain as low and high platforms. And again, these other cities around the country have been doing that for years. Pittsburgh, I think, is a really good city to model some of these system legibility aspects off of, some of their operational procedures, because since the 1980s, since that system was rebuilt, they've been operating with high and low platform stations, and they make that distinction to their riders, because it is an important distinction. They make that distinction on their maps. So moving forward, RTA should say on their maps, through their wayfinding, on signs, this is a high platform station, this is a low platform station. So I know, maybe the loading procedures, the disembarking procedures are a little different, or maybe I have an idea of what to expect at that station when I get there. And just a last little note here on system legibility. These are departure boards that are going to be installed in the coming years on the Blue Line. These 13 and 32-inch, they're called e-paper digital displays, will have real-time departure information for excuse me, for the light rail vehicles and connecting bus lines. So ideally, these displays will be rolled out throughout the network. So you can see, you get on any station, you could see there's a real-time departure board in 5 minutes. I have that train headed to Tower City in 10 minutes. I have that other train headed to Tower City, but oh, this one's going to the waterfront line now. So, I can make more informed decisions. These decisions will be important for some travel scenarios that we can just run through right here. So, for example, you live around West Park and you commute to Cedar University. Well, you may see a slight service disruption for those riders that are not traveling to downtown but are traveling through Tower City. Let's just say hypothetically you just missed the Red Line train and oh, I have to wait 17 will allow though is the
Hey,
ability for
Noah,
more.
your your audio cut out just there as you started talking about
Oh,
that. So why don't you repeat that
sorry.
sentence?
Yeah. No. So just to go through the scenario real quick, you may miss a train and you may have to wait at the platform longer than you want to. But what the new system allows for is increased transfers. We talked a little about those transfers at Tower City. Well, those will be a lot easier, and you'll be able to make much more use of them in this, hypothetical travel scenario where you're going from West Park to Cedar University and you just missed that Red Line train. Well, instead of waiting 17 minutes for that Red Line train, you could wait at West Park for 2 minutes. A Blue Line train will arrive. Get on that Blue Line train, go to Tower City, transfer there in a climate controlled area on a single level high platform. Wait 5 minutes and board an Orange Line train that'll take you to Cedar University. That'll save you 10 minutes on your total trip time. This is a similar example. You live at Shaker Square, you're headed to some event on the waterfront, and you just missed that direct service Green Line train. So instead of waiting 19 minutes for that Green Line train, you could just wait for 4 minutes, board the Blue Line train, transfer at Tower City, and that transfer under the schedule only takes 5 minutes, and board an Orange Line train to the lakefront. What I'm really getting at here is this is an idea of you can just get on the first train that you see. If it isn't going to your eventual destination, well, you could always transfer at Tower City. So there is a somewhat added complexity here, but for a majority of riders, this is giving them more options that they can choose, what is best for them, giving the freedom of choice in that way. So just, to go back to this very rough animated diagram of what those, high to high platform transfers would be. I get off the red line. I wait 5 minutes. I don't have to go through fare gates. I'm in this climate controlled area with improved station amenities. I get on that blue line train and I'm off on my way. Instead of waiting that extra 17 minutes, maybe in inclement weather, at the station I'm coming from. There's also these new cross-platform transfers that are enabled by this system. In this example, you just get off a red line train. Maybe you want to head to the waterfront line, so all you have to do is cross the high platform, board a green or an orange line train, and head back out to the waterfront. Most of those transfers, these improved reverse transfers, are going to be only within that 5 minute range. So these improved, I'll call them reverse transfers through Tower City or through East 55th. They are kind of the answer to these operationally complex lines 7, 8, and 9 I mentioned earlier in the presentation. So instead of operating those lines, we can just make the transfers easier, make them scheduled more efficiently for the riders at Tower City and at 55th, where those transfer times are only going to be between 5 to 3 minutes most of the time. So if you live on the blue line and you work in the circle right now, that's a annoying long transfer at East 55th where you have to walk the full length of the station. Now you can get off at East 55th, just wait on that same platform, board a train in the reverse direction towards University Circle. That's only 3 minutes. That's a significant upgrade. And just briefly, I want to go over infrastructure right now. I'm going to divide it into two categories. There are these necessary modifications that enable the fleet unification, and then there's a whole host of other investments RTA is making that will improve the rider experience and the system's reliability. These necessary modifications are very minor. Only a small portion of the rail unification project is going towards these necessary modifications. It's only some $30 million of the full $450 million budget. So what we're getting out of it is a pretty good steal, and it's already committed to. It's already coming down the line. And then there's also these whole host of other station upgrades, state of good repair, issues, rebuilding the tracks, rebuilding communications and power systems. A lot of that is already underway today, right now. These three pictures were from just a blue line trip I had last week, where these new stations are being rebuilt on just new amenities are going to be installed in the coming year. There's this whole host of these state of good repair projects that are timed right now in such a way that it's about getting the rail system into a more efficient, more reliable place than it is today when these new rail cars arrive. So you're going to see this added benefit of, oh, the actual tracks can make the train run faster, and the train on them is cleaner, is new, is more efficient. So it's combining these things at once. And also, I just want to touch on three potential station reconstruction projects that we'll see in the next few years. Um, the new airport landside terminal at Cleveland Hopkins, this large land bridge and rebuilding of the lakefront, and Bedrock's Tower City, Dan Gilbert's riverfront redevelopment all around Tower City. These are three of the largest projects Greater Cleveland, Northeast Ohio as a whole is going to be pursuing over the next 20 years. And what's at the heart of these three major projects? A rapid transit station. That's, some of it's just a bit of coincidence, but that's pretty significant. And each of these stations will have the opportunity, the option, or the need for a bit of a rebuild. So, we mentioned the landside terminal redevelopment of the airport. That's going to require a new rapid station. And I mentioned it here. It doesn't really affect the rollout of this unified fleet program, but it will be timed pretty close to when those new rail cars arrive. So those new rail cars won't be able to arrive at the station because it will be being rebuilt possibly when they come sometime, in the late 2020s. Ideally, though, just to make a small note on the station itself, it would be a center island high level platform like it currently is today. The lakefront, very complex project right here. There's a lot of stops and starts in Cleveland's history with the waterfront, but I think this is a good shot at happening this time. There's a lot of money already committed to it, but not enough money right now. So we don't know the real timeline of this, but there is an active study going on right now for a new multimodal station that will include intercity passenger rail service on Amtrak. Ideally, will include a bus terminal and a new waterfront rapid station. That's a pretty significant ridership generator and helps make the case for restoring a full waterfront all-day service. And if and when intercity passenger rail is expanded to Cleveland, you'll now have a dedicated station that you can get to from your intercity train. So you just arrived from Chicago, you could transfer directly to the Rapid that now has a direct service line to University Circle. So that's connecting one of our largest employment centers directly to this multimodal hub on the lakefront. But again, this project's probably the furthest off of all active projects. We don't know what the timing will be like. And I bring up the timing just one last time to say that when this is being built out, we may not be able to operate waterfront line service. So this 4-line 20-minute proposal that we're sharing today might not be able to be implemented until this new multimodal station is built on the waterfront, until the land bridge is built, and until some of that project gets moving forward in the next 5 to 10 years. And just lastly, Tower City, there is no renovation required. Let me be clear. There is no renovation required for operating these new rail cars there, aside from very minor platform modifications. But Bedrock, Riverfront, Dan Gilbert is investing heavily over the coming years into Tower City and into the surrounding land. And it is a good opportunity to improve some of the features from a pedestrian and ridership perspective. Tower City, anyone going at Tower City, they're also pedestrians. So these will be significant streetscape improvements around the terminal, and ideally there'll be improved wayfinding. So, right now, people in Cleveland, they might not even know how to get to the Rapid Station from the street level. It's not very well marked. Ideally, moving forward, Bedrock will have improved wayfinding. And I had those, that digital board example of those Tower City departures earlier in the presentation. Imagine being on Prospect or at Public Square, and you see this board and you say, oh, in 5 minutes there's a train going to the east side. In 10 minutes there's a train going to my home on the blue line. In 5 minutes there's a train going to the waterfront. In 5 minutes there's a train going to the airport. That's significant. These are significant improvements, and we need to kind of communicate that to people who may not be familiar with the system. So, taking all together, all of these enabling and complementary infrastructure projects, it's very comprehensive. There's very few stations on the network that won't substantially be affected by this whole process. And again, most of these infrastructure projects have already been committed to in some form. A lot of them are already funded. Some of them are already being built out right now. So this whole network is being rebuilt in a very meaningful way. These existing commitments to the system, they're extensive. And they justify an expansion in service to meet this improved infrastructure. So, an expansion of service to something like that 4-line at 20-minute proposal, which can in part be paid for by the cost savings from operating a unified fleet. So there's millions to be saved in maintenance costs from operating a single unified new fleet. Reinvest those savings not into something else, but into the existing rail system, improve the frequency, meet this new demand that these new infrastructure assets will hopefully generate. So we have these new rail cars, these renovated stations. There's a very clear roadmap to full ADA accessibility for those remaining 16 stations on the blue and green line. The blue line's already funded. The green line will be funded soon to make it a fully ADA accessible system. That's a significant accomplishment. With the savings from this unified system, we can have this new direct service pattern with higher frequency. Taken together, this is kind of the idea of rebooting the Rapid, packaging these improvements together, expanding service, expanding frequency, and make this as a branded multi-year initiative to reboot the Rapid. Someone with a better eye for marketing can come up with a more effective name or branding scheme here, but it's something along this unifying story that this is a key transit asset that is being rebuilt over the next 3 to 5 years as these improvements are realized. Build this up in the public conscious as a project that will, kind of reboot, rebuild, relaunch the Rapid, and use it as, kind of a stepping stone for relaunching, public transit in Northeast Ohio.
Awesome. Great. No, thanks so much. That was wonderful. We've had a very active set of questions in the chat, and so we still have some time for chat. I think, kind of like my summary of our message here is that when we talk about this, so many of the projects that we propose as transit advocates would have substantial cost. In the case of what's being proposed here, this is all money that's getting spent one way or the other to enable these new train sets. So let's really make the most of it through this proposal. And then the other thing I just want to make sure that everyone's clear on when we talk about this particular proposal, if you're a rider and you're waiting for your next train, and maybe it's like, well, hey, now there's 2 lines here, which one do I take? You just always get on the next train that's going the direction you want to go. And if you happen to get on the blue line going east and you wanted to get to University Circle, once you get to Tower City, you would change trains there and it would be very easy to get off the train and then right
Mhm.
back on the next one coming in. So that's one of the things that's really exciting about this. So let's see here. There are quite a few questions in the chat. I think that one of the things I want to emphasize is this is a proposal by advocates. This is not something that RTA is proposing. So when we talk about things like, hey, how's the fare system going to work, or what times would they start, or how is the waterfront going to work in this? All of those things that we are making proposals and suggestions for, but are not things that RTA has committed to one way or the other. So Noah, as I'm looking through the questions here, I want to kind of keep these on, things that are specific to the proposal, because again, I think there's a lot of wonderful questions in there, but some are probably beyond scope. Um, let's see, and I don't know. Well, the other thing we can do too is maybe we'll have people raise hands, and as people are raising hands, maybe I'll take some of the questions that are in there, right? So one of the questions coming in, is people coming in from the farther out suburbs and using the Green Line as a special event service, and therefore, finding those parking lots on the green to be critical to them. I think that gets into, hey, which is the line that you send to the airport? Do you send the Green Line or the Blue Line to the airport? And there's a case to be made for either one. I think when we look at the number of apartments and number of residents around Blue Line stations, that the Blue Line is inherently going to generate more ridership, and that's a pretty important, pretty important metric when we're talking about transit projects. But the key thing here is that either one of those routes is a reasonable proposal. I think it's probably a question of, do you think more people are going to go to Ohio City and Gordon Square, or do you think more people are going to go to the airport when it comes to the west side? Um, let's see. I really like the question that Micah put in here on what could evolve in a multimodal lakefront station, right? And I know
Yeah.
that either the city or the county has put in a pretty substantial grant for initial planning of that. And essentially the question was, well, hey, could this be, a proper night station with retail and all of those things? So when you talk about retail, when you talk about intercity bus service, in addition to intercity train service, those are all things that lakefront station could become. And I think it's very important for us to make our voices heard as the city and county go into planning for that. For those of you who've had a chance to travel to Milwaukee, they've got a wonderful intermodal station in Milwaukee that has all of those things that were discussed: retail, intercity train, intercity bus, local transportation.
Yeah, thank you, Brian, for bringing that up, because I do just want to emphasize, yeah, the especially to all aboard Ohio here, the importance of getting that lakefront multimodal station right. All the ingredients are there; they just need to be executed on in the proper way. And I think advocating for those proper assets over the coming year or so will be very important.
This is just a hypothetical question. Sue Mancino said something about, using the Green Line to get into downtown from the east suburbs. And as you know, there's no connection to 271 or any of that kind of thing. But I wonder if there's any thought given to buses from, say, Mayfield Road down Gates Mills to the end of the line at Green Road, or something similar from Chagrin Falls. That would give that line some ridership that maybe it doesn't have right now. I don't know what the bus system is set up like out there. It's in Cuyahoga County. So, and you've got a lot of things on Som Center Road north of Mayfield,
Mm.
including Progressive Insurance. So there's a reason that you'd have a tie-in there. It's not the most direct route to Tower City or the airport, but it would
Mhm.
work.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, globally, when we look at best in class transit systems, your bus service is your number one feeder for then rapid transit, right? And so when we look at the bus service going up and down Lee, or as Laura pointed out in the chat, the trails and bike infrastructure that feed into some of these stations, those are good ways to generate ridership in addition to apartment buildings, offices, hospitals around stations. So I agree completely. I mean, when we look at upgrading the frequency, it's tough to justify upgrading the frequency on the Green Line today because the ridership is so low. But if we look at it holistically with the bus services that could feed into that, and then to your point, extending from the inn to Hillcrest Hospital in Mayfield Heights, to Chagrin Falls, to the mall area there in Beechwood, all of those could then become potential ridership generators. I agree with that completely.
Thank you.
Let's see here. And some of the point, Ryan here is just responding in the chat as well that, extending the blue line to 271 would be kind of towards the more feasible end of projects, similar to the, Green Line extension to 271 that was proposed decades ago. But, running down and across Harvard Avenue, you could hit the hospital there in Warrensville Heights and then get to Hoosier there in Beechwood, and that could potentially be a strong ridership generator. But I think one of the things I really want to emphasize in this is that this proposal doesn't take any new infrastructure that's not already happening, right? That's what we're really excited about with this particular proposal. So, lots of good questions, and I don't know if you're able to see the ones in the chat, maybe you can respond there. A couple comments I do want to make, though, just in case anybody needs to drop at the bottom of the hour. First off, we've got rail cars that have served us well for more than 40 years, and I'm really happy to see that on the line tonight, we have the guy that spec'd those out in the first place. So just want to give a shout out to John Pursuit here, because he was the guy that originally did all those specs, and it's so wonderful to have you with us and have you share your pins. I will definitely be curious and picking your brain about this because I know you've got very strong opinions on the direction they're going. So I'm looking forward to getting that feedback. And then the other thing I want to make sure that everyone is aware of is that ORDC is going to be meeting next week on September 18th to vote on this rail plan, right? So if you are able to participate in that ORDC meeting on September 18th at 11 a.m. and let them know your thoughts on how we need more emphasis on passenger rail on this plan, we would really appreciate anyone else who's able to share their voice in that. So if you'd like to learn more about what's happening, please do register for the All Aboard Ohio statewide meeting that's happening this Saturday morning at 10 a.m. You can learn more about it and then go share your opinions in those meetings for those of you who are able to participate in something like that on a weekday.
Yeah,
They do have an online version of that. There was, what does the future of the waterfront line look like? RTA spent a lot of money to replace the bridge over the railroad tracks. So clearly there was some level of desire to keep that service running, but then right now it's a weekend and special events only service, and that's just not getting the job done. So one of the reasons that Noah's proposal includes more service on that is because there actually is a lot of new development around that line and even more proposed. So
Yeah,
increasing that service. Yeah, go ahead, Noah.
on that topic, Brian. Yeah, because for this proposal to happen, it would require a full restoration of waterfront line service. But people often say, "Oh, it's low ridership." Well, part of the reason it is a low ridership is because it can't be expected, predictable, relied on for people who do commute in and around it. The existing stations aren't necessarily ideal. Canal Basin, Flats East Bank, the Muni lot. But East 9th and West 3rd are going to be combined into a single unified station at the lakefront. That'll be a part of this massive lakefront redevelopment, which, it may take a bit to get off the ground, but I have more confidence in this version of it, Cleveland's attempt at it. Because there's a lot of money behind it this time. There's legitimate plans, for a redevelopment of the Muni lot on the table at City Hall right now. There is a lot of active interest in continuing to build out the Flats East Bank. Canal Basin right now might not seem as the most attractive station, but some of the newest neighborhoods that are being built in the city of Cleveland, if anyone has a chance to go down to Scranton Peninsula, look at all these new apartment buildings. That's like a 7-minute walk to the station. That's thousands of new people that can walk to these new stations. If you provide regular service to it, maybe they could build it into their daily commutes. So this won't happen overnight. we can't implement the system until the late 2020s. This is still years down the road. But by then, through this, ideally through this marketing push, they say, hey, we're going to restore waterfront line service. People can maybe have more faith in it going forward.
Yeah, that's a great point. Um, so so first off, thank you all very much for joining us this evening. Hopefully you found this interesting. We'll continue to push for it. Like what I'm excited about is that like this can be done without adding a whole bunch of other infrastructure costs, right? So this is a way to make the most of what the city and county and RTA are already doing to make these new trains a reality. And that's what makes it really exciting to do our best to make the most out of this investment. So I don't want to speak for Noah, but I can certainly hang around and answer more questions. But that does conclude the formal part of our meeting. Hope to see a bunch of you Saturday morning as well. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your evening to join us.
Have
And
one
then, yeah,
final
we'll go ahead.
question.
So I'm just curious, the 60 rail cars that they're supposed to be ordering for the whole fleet, with this proposal that we're looking at, is that enough? Is that like for sure enough based on your calculations to support that whole expansion while still supporting large events, having to do 2, 3 cars at a time?
Yeah, no, that's an important discussion. But taking from RTA's cue from their order, they've ordered 60 rail cars to replace the existing fleet. And normal operations today, they require 15 total train sets. It's more like 22 if you add those double car rail lines. So, in normal operating procedures, they could operate this whole line as only, with only using a third of the rail cars that they are ordering. 60 is a lot. So for, those special event days, for serving the Browns wherever they may play, for serving playoff games downtown, St. Patrick's Day, those events, they still have plenty of extra cars to run 3-car length trains on the Red Line, 2 cars to the Shaker lines. RTA is forward thinking in this car order with ordering 60 rail cars to meet the demand for those special events.
Yeah, great question, Dwayne. Paul, why don't you go
Yeah,
ahead
good
with your
question.
question?
All right, thanks. Can you hear me, Brian? Can you hear me,
Yep, we
Noah?
can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Noah, I wanted to say this has been a great presentation. I don't,
Thank you.
I think a lot of other folks probably feel the same way on this. Have you one comment real quick is that
Please.
this really does take care of one of the original sins of Cleveland Transit as why do we have a light rail system and a heavy rail system? And the heavy rail system as compared to most other networks in the country is at the bottom. And our light rail system compared to most other networks, if you go to the APTA ridership stats, is at the bottom. So, having a consistent system will help our statistics nationwide amongst our peer groups. So I think that's really, really going to be helpful when you try to justify expansions and things like that we have instead of one system with 8,000 riders and another system with 14,000. You've got something, that could get around 30,000. Okay, we look a little bit more interesting when it comes to competing for future dollars. So I think that's really a great benefit. There are I know you don't want to talk about fare collection because that's an RTA question, but that's one of the other original sins about transit in Ohio, in Cleveland is, you've got 18 different ways of paying your fare. And you need a degree in poli sci to be able to figure out which one you're going to be using, which method is going to be there. So I know that's outside the scope of your conversation, but Tower City is such a massive fare collecting magnet that, getting people to get off a train and then getting on another train without that fare collection, that could be a little bit of an issue as far as RTA, but they've got to really think creatively about that, kind of think the way, how DC does it, where you just take the first train that comes and there you go, or New York, so that's going to come up. Even though I think your proposal's quite good, it's definitely going to come up. My question is, have you talked to the Board of Trustees? I know I am on the Community Advisory Committee for RTA. I mean, personally, I would love to have you come and to a CAC meeting and pitch this. I think it would be just a great a great aside and something that really sparks the imagination. I don't know if you've talked to the Board of Trustees yourself or any other RTA group.
No, thank you for those information and insights, Paul. Just to be clear, this is really the first time this idea has been presented publicly. So I haven't had any direct contact with anyone at RTA, and thank you, very much for the offer for potentially presenting this and reaching out to them because yeah, we do think this is achievable, and we would like to see their input and see what some of those thorny issues might be. Just really quickly, I wanted to touch on that idea of fare collection. And yeah, that is one of those more thornier issues for this system, and how RTA does it today isn't necessarily the most ideal. I would like to say though, just on the slide right here, I have Pittsburgh's light rail vehicle there. In a lot of ways, I think we can model this system off of what Pittsburgh does, and Pittsburgh has a full proof of payment tap and go system for their network where you pay boarding going towards downtown and you pay when you disembark going away from downtown. It's this very regular, very expected system. I don't know if that's necessarily how RTA should implement it, but Pittsburgh is able to achieve fare collection with no fare gates on their system rather effectively. And ideally, Cleveland would have a type of smart fare card system in the coming years that could really make those tap and go type procedures much easier. Most American light rail systems have no fare gates. Cleveland actually does have them. That we are a little bit more keen than we do have them, but many cities around the country make extensive use of high ridership systems with good fare box recovery without fare gates.
I think he's
Eric.
like the initial proposal was discussions on urban Ohio, and great to see a lot of folks here from the urban Ohio community. And then this is kind of the first public formal presentation, and we put it out there and see where it goes. And we, bring it to members of the community. We bring it to members of leadership. We bring it to NOACA. That's certainly what we want to do because this is something that is very feasible.
And
Thanks,
just
guys.
a little quick, yeah, thank you for all the input there. Just a really quick mention as well. You earlier you mentioned, oh, this is a combined network. How can that help Cleveland? Compared to other networks. If you could see this system length graph I have right here, these are just select comparable light rail networks throughout the U.S. today. The blue and green lines are only 15 miles. The red line's 19. Combined, though, they're close to, they're over 30, which is a lot closer to the American average length of a light rail system. So, yeah, it is about combining these two disparate systems into a stronger single network, rather.
So anyway, thank you very much. I'm looking through the chat. There's lots of wonderful questions coming in, and different types of things. As far as like pilot projects and what the future is, like these are proposals from advocacy organizations, and we're not going to speak for RTA in those terms. We are trying to get a message of this is something that we think is feasible, that we want to push. Really appreciate Paul offering to connect us, more connections with the RTA team, because that's certainly a way of getting this word out there. And then, a call to all of you is a reminder to ask your elected leaders and city and county officials and RTA representatives, so specifically board members at RTA, that hey, this is something that you'd like to see, right? And what it can really mean for the city and the region. And so with that, I want to give a huge thank you to NOAA for all the time and thought put into this. Encourage your thoughts and feedback. We will be posting either a recording or some version of this online in addition to a PDF of NOAA's presentation. And, if you want to argue details too, come on and join us on the Urban Ohio Forum. Lots of conversation of it going on there. But otherwise, thank you very much for your time. I hope to see a bunch of you Saturday morning, and keep pushing for what we can see as a better transportation system in the future for our region. Thanks very much for your time.